Sir, I'm sorry, but I'm here to afterwards ask me a question anytime. And so I just want to let you all know about that. And we have, in this case, I want to make sure everyone's heard. And I'm not going to answer anymore, James. I'm not answering. I cannot do it. It's a public meeting. I can't do it. Can't do it. So, okay. Let's start, Lisa.
Okay, so I have 21 speakers. I'm going to start with the people in the room and then I'll do the Zoom people after that. So Jennifer Thorpe.
Ready? Hi, Jennifer, you all know me. When all is said and done, what will become of the teacher-parent-student relationship? What will happen to the unspoken trust that is implicit in almost every single school encounter we've had since I was a child? What happens to that one kid who is abused at home and can't go to his teacher because she or he treated them so unfairly without the respect, and the abuse continues, all because of a piece of cloth over their face? What happens to kids who have little direction at home and look to it at school, but instead was given the boot and sat outside in the rain or in the closed space, knowing they will freeze or be so distraught they sneak out of the back and hop the fence, which my kid did? What happens to those students who literally have no other choice than to take their own life because school was their safe haven and you have made it a place of disdain and anxiety? I don't care what side of the vote you're on this far. You've been on a losing team and it doesn't make this a winner. You can be annoyed at my behavior now or in the past or with my emails, but that's your job. I'm not going to stand up here today and try to persuade any of you any other way. I've done that a million times. There's lifted mandates all over the county and possibly state. They're days away. We get it. It's an election year. 4 out of 5 of you have your seats up. We get it. This is going to be my last address to this board about masks, hopefully. And if by now you're going to continue to this charade, you're absolutely the problem. You can hide behind the teachers unions now, but parents are not asleep anymore. Parents are not going to allow this to happen to their kids anymore. If you haven't noticed, this will be a new normal for anything deemed problematic from here on out. Parents are awake. Sorry, I didn't realize it was going to be 2 minutes, so I have to cut this. This is just how it's going to have to be from now on. This is a quote from a Lakeside union president, and I wanted to get this on the record. This is what she said to somebody in an email. As it seems more and more likely that in the near future, masks mandates for school will also lift, I want to acknowledge that the idea of 25 to 35 unmasked students with varying levels of personal hygiene may be overwhelming and flat out worrisome. I thought that was the role of teachers, was to accept students how they are, and they're not sick people. And I don't want them to continue to look at my kid as he's a sick person. So thanks.
Katie Clark.
Hi, Bonnie. Hi, everybody. This is my first time speaking. Hi, everybody. I don't have notes because we're going to speak for 2 minutes. So let me just tell you what's been on my heart. Woof. These have been 2 of the worst years. It's been tough. I'm a mom of 3. My youngest is 8. He's at Lakeside Farms. I've lived in this town my whole life. I'm lucky enough to do business in this town. And before we get any further, I just want to say thank you to all the moms and dads here that have been coming here and fighting the good fight. I haven't been here because I've been too mad. And every time I thought I was going to send Shane to private school, or we were going to start a pod, or we were going to do something else, a little bit of freedom came to the kids, and we wanted him to stay at Lakeside Farms. We love the school. We love the community. We play ball here. It's very important. We live in Eucalyptus Hills. It's very, very important to us that our kids get to stay in their community, especially here because I'm from here. And all I can say at this point is you've had 2 years of this nonsense. We've been dealing with 2 years of this nonsense. This is the time to make the change, and we support you making the change. I really don't care why you've made the decisions you've made over the last 2 years, but it's time to make a different decision, and it's time to support our kids and especially support our parents. For everybody that's been here fighting, thank you so much for being here, and everybody today. I know we couldn't fit all of Lakeside in this room, but I hope you understand, for those of us that are here and that are on the screens, you have a ton of support to do the right thing. So I don't come here in any anger, although my voice is shaking because I'm emotional, not angry. But I want you to do the right thing for us so that we can get back to business and taking care of our kids. Thank you.
We have to roll.
Respected members of the school board, I'm a parent of 2 children in this school district, a clinician for a local health provider, and I hold a master's degree in public health. I urge you to vote in favor of mass choice effective immediately. Do not wait until March 11th, an arbitrary date. Every parent wants a safe school for their children, but respectfully, our children deserve medical care driven by science, not politics. And this March 11th date is nothing short of political. Why wait any longer? Our kids, particularly the young ones who cannot effectively stand up for their rights to a mask-free in-person education, have been subjected to the effects of a political nightmare for far too long. People everywhere living their lives without a face mask, attending events without a face mask, eating at restaurants without a face mask, attending meetings without face masks. But our children continue to be subjected to the face mask for 6+ hours a day. Studies on the effects of face masks in classrooms and death and mortality rates lack credible evidence. And there are real downsides to masking our children for this long. We cannot continue to demonstrate fear, worry, and anxiety to our children's growing and developing brains. This has gone on for far too long. Please vote to let our children breathe immediately. Thank you.
James Cassidy.
Hi, I find it highly disrespectful of my time that you would now tell us at this point that we get 2 minutes. You had plenty of notice. It was a special meeting. You've done it before. You should have allowed us extra time. Really, it's disrespectful of my time and the time that all these people plan to speak. Secondly, where are your masks? You virtue signaling pieces. I would respect you more if you came in here right now with the mask, Mr. Science Guy. I really would, because that's what you stood behind. You're going to sit there right now close across from one another, but yet my kids can't sit close. What's the difference? I don't get it. I'm going to we all hold you accountable right now, and we will hold you accountable in the future. Mark my words. I'm marking you. You will be accountable in the future. I guarantee it. Jeff will speak to that. I'm guaranteeing that as well. The one other thing that I wanted to speak about is you have no sack, no cojones, no wherewithal. What I mean by that is if you actually followed what would have happened, if you would have sacked up originally and said, we will choose to administer this program the way we see fit, not collaborate with others, but with what the parents want, and give us at least the choice. What would have happened? What were you threatened with? You were threatened with losing the insurance. You were threatened with losing charter. I don't understand how it works, but basically shutting down the school. Do you honestly, truthfully think your union overlords would allow you to shut down the school? Take these kids, spread them out, place them out, but more importantly, put the teachers out of work, not collect their union dues because they're not getting paid. Do you honestly believe the ones that you bow down to would allow that? No, they wouldn't have done that. Thank you. You're disrespectful of all of us. Thanks.
Amanda Morris.
I'll try and be organized. I organized for 4 minutes. The reality is that either you support agencies such as the governor's office and the CDC, or you fall into the camp that recognizes these agencies are driven by money and corruption and are outdated. If one is able to see the current data and does not support the policies of these agencies, and you put the word of these agencies before your own common sense, intuition, and observation, then you're going to continue to support these agencies without question. So no matter what data we put in front of you, regardless of how many stats about rising mental health issues or youth, because of these mandates, no matter how many teachers call out sick because their vaccine didn't work and they still got COVID, you will default to doing whatever these agencies tell you to do. So I call on East County moms and dads, East County Parent Alliance, Reform California to continue to rise, and everybody in this room. This is where we no longer accept Lakeside District as being a watered down version of San Diego Unified. And we stop tolerating discrimination through the justification of hiding behind orders and mandates. In the next election, El Cajon, Santee, Alpine, Lakeside needs to come out in full force and reclaim every board seat that has hid behind mandates and put politics before parents, and replace them with members who will incorporate common sense and sovereignty and stand up to the overreach of Sacramento. Laura and Andrew, I'm not speaking to you. The reclaiming of these seats needs to be so swift and so strong that those that did not stand for our kids do not even want to drive over the 52 into our town for years to come. We chose Riverview for diversity and international component it offered, hoping to enrich and elevate from traditional education, but nothing screams inclusion like leaving kids out in the rain and segregating them from their peers because of their religious and medical beliefs. Remember that the next time you all host a training on how to be more inclusive. Lastly, when the time comes when we have our luncheons and commencements and commend one another for speeches for doing the best we could over the crisis of the pandemic, the time is now. We're not in a pandemic. Our children are healthy. You did know better. You are choosing this. It's time to rise.
Autumn Ellenson.
Good evening. I'm here to speak on behalf of the families in our district that are in support of mask choice for our children. When we opened the schools last year, I understood the board's decision to require masking. Not only was there a mandate, but there was not yet a vaccine available to those that want it. It also supported those families that were still nervous about COVID, helping them feel more secure about sending their children to in-person school. However, we are now in a completely different place than we were then. There are a number of easy to access vaccinations that are free and equally available to all. Every student over the age of 5 in our district, as well as staff and parents, are welcome to get a vaccination if they so choose. There are free and available masks and home testing kits for those that want them. Aside from having the resources available to everyone that wants them, there are other major issues tied with masking that we as a community need to face. In every state across the board, schools are faced with student behavior problems as a result of the COVID pandemic, and Lakeside is no different. From angry outbursts and disrespect to impulse control issues, students are having a very difficult time understanding how to adjust in a social environment. For 2 years, students have missed out on key socialization and connection opportunities. Some children have never even seen their teachers' faces and do not get the option of connecting with their peers while working together in the classroom. As a teacher myself, I can tell you this is detrimental to learning and growing as a student. Furthermore, this will have a lasting effect on our future generations' ability to connect with others in our community, causing major problems down the road. We need to mitigate this damage now and begin to repair what our children have gone through. Now that we have vaccines in place with free and equal access to all, it is time we help our children get as close to a state of normal as possible. So tonight, I encourage this board to use its power to support our community. Listen to the majority of parents that are ready to make mask choices for our children. It's time for all families to make the decision, not just half. Thank you.
Miranda Ramos.
have no time for pleasantries as I had to cut this down. Bonnie, Don, and Holly, you have failed these kids miserably. These kids want to stand up for what they think is right. At the tender ages of 9 and 13, they're absolutely done with the rhetoric and outright hypocrisy. It's sad that they even feel that this needs action on their part. Kids see the parents fighting, and trust me, they see you not listening. These kids are afraid of school staff at this point, and you did that, a place where they should feel safest and most supported outside of home. They are now fearful and compliant, despite their personal needs, feelings, and beliefs, hiding behind mandates and suggestions as if they're law, as if you would get some kind of punishment for not complying, but you fail to understand the basic and most simple difference. Mandates are not laws. There's no fine, fee, punishment, anything that can be given for not complying, absolutely none. I work in law. In 2020, the White House declared the teachers are essential workers. Teachers claiming that their risk profile in classrooms has changed at all are really just using this as a bargaining chip for more money. We see you, and we see those bowing down and cowering to the union demands and threats. I beg any teacher to tell me with a straight face that they thought working with kids could never result in them getting a virus. Your jobs always came with that risk. Find another way to negotiate your pay that doesn't affect the tiny humans that you once probably genuinely cared for. We are in the midst of the biggest and least satisfying I told you so ever. Yes, the state is finally freeing those little faces, but of course this comes with a completely arbitrarily set date. I implore all of you to find your humanity, however deep under threats it may be, and do the right thing now. Tomorrow, LSUSD masks shall be optional, and I ask you to vote for that to happen tonight. And it goes without saying that if you think these parents are fired up about mask choice, you can damn well only imagine the result if you try to make the experimental vaccine a requirement. I implore you to open schools back up to parents. We have already lost 2 years of memories that we will never get back. I want open houses where my kids can proudly show me their work on the walls. I want muffins with mom, school performances, student of the month celebrations, Halloween carnivals, volunteer opportunities. We couldn't even have lunch with my twins on their birthday 2 weeks ago. Stop treating the schools like prisons. Heck, even prisoners get visitation rights. Let us in and let us be partners in the children's learning environments again.
Christine C.
Good afternoon. This is my first time speaking because finally I'm giving in and I have to make my voice heard. I'm here as not only a parent, but as an employee of your district, as a substitute teacher for any elementary school in this district. I have seen and witnessed some of the most ridiculous things that teachers are doing for these masks, holding kids accountable, making them use the money they earn for homework in class to purchase a new mask when they don't wear one or don't have one in school is atrocious. You have no idea what it's like to mask up your child every morning against their will in a world where adults don't even wear masks anywhere. No idea about the kindergartner who needs multiple mask breaks because they can't think or breathe or are just so done with this environment and this society. I have been at lunch and I've seen kids in their masks wiping the table from their ketchup, stepping on them, digging in the sandbox, have it full of sandbox, and then shaking it off and marching back to class. You think that's healthy? I think a mask is doing way more to our students than anything this world can handle to them now, give to them now. We have been fighting for mask choice from this board for 2 years now. Had you been honest from us from the start that this district was merely a pawn to the governor and wouldn't make a move until you were told to do so, everyone here could have made a more informed decision for their families from the very beginning. However, that's the past. Here at this present, you are being asked to start mask choice today, not some arbitrary date in 2 weeks that means nothing to no one. No, there's no reason for this date. And I'm asking you all personally to take a look and to seriously consider your position on this board. If you are not volunteering in these classrooms, if you are not on campus, if you do not have kids that you have to dress and mask every single day and send them on their way, you do not know what you are doing to these kids, and you do not know what your voice means to them, your vote means to them. Additionally, mask choice does not take away anybody's right to wear a mask. Everyone can keep their mask on. It gives my children back their freedom.
Bianca Stanley.
Tonight is a big night for you as a board. It is yet again in your hands to choose if you continue the hypocritical mask enforcement or if you finally decide to fulfill your job of that chair and stand up for our children and make mask a choice effective immediately. Think very hard before you cast your vote. What is happening now that will change in 13 days? Will you go to bed tonight okay with the choices you've made? In the end, those of you who chose to enforce this BS and not stand up for our kids or our children, the children of our community, an apology. You owe them an explanation as to why you let your fear of what might happen affect your ability to make a humane choice for what is right for our kids as a whole. You owe your teachers and school staff an apology for dragging them through the mud, making them the face of the bad guy, and then leaving the mess for them to clean up with little guidance or direction. You owe your community an apology for taking your chair as a coward who had the power to make a defiant choice, but CDPH insurance and the funding for enforcing child abuse overweighed the mental health and overall well-being of our community, teachers, and students that all of us fighting knew would eventually rear its ugly head. Parents, I am praying at the end of this meeting, you will be able to hug your child so tight and tell them it's over. I'm praying that we all get to celebrate our children, with our children, the freedom of choice. I am praying that you have found out just how incredible it is that you have persevered so hard in this fight for our children, and that with our voices and our kids as our biggest supporters, we as a community can move mountains. To all the amazing, brave, strong, fierce, and defiant students who paved the way, who lit the fire under all the parents' hinds ends, who constantly reminded us parents who we are fighting for, why we are fighting, and who never let us give up. Thank you. You all should be so damn proud of yourselves. It is you who have gotten us here. It is you who have been brave enough to stand up for those who may have been too scared to stand up for themselves. It is you who has set the example for the little kids who wanted to stand up for themselves, but were too scared of getting in trouble. You are the real heroes at the end of all of this.
Carla Meterly.
I'm speaking here today with a concussion because this is really important to me. Can you please take this dangerous medical device off of our face? If you still will say we have to wear a mask, me as a 9-year-old will gladly not consent. In school, my teacher talks about CNN and she's not supposed to teach us that at all. Yesterday in my class, my teacher brought up that you were talking about mask choice in your board meeting. All of our kids in class yelled, hooray. I know people are scared of COVID. Fine, keep your face covered and hidden. Wear a mask. If you think they work, I will tell you why they don't. If you did not wear a mask, the germs people are scared of now will only go to the person in front of you. If you did wear a mask and hide your face, the germs will go to the 2 people next to you caused by the big gaps on the side of your mask. Bonnie, Holly, Dawn, please get this device off her face. Masks have not been proven to work. So why are you still abusing us and trying to kill us mentally and physically?
Gwen Meterly.
Hi. First, I would ask, why do you want to put this non-working materials on our faces? As a student in Lakeside Farms Elementary, I know that a lot of people are still scared of this cold that is around the world right now. I have had COVID before, and it's nothing to be afraid of. Now let's talk about the health that masks bring to us. Our lungs are not as healthy as they used to be. Bonnie, Holly, and Dawn, please stop killing us in our sad little faces covered in a mask. If you do not take this off our faces as a 9-year-old, I will gladly not consent. Let us be a free city once again and stop being afraid.
Maddie Harmon.
Hi, my name is Madison. I'm a student at Steel Canyon High School. I'm here on behalf of all students and myself. As a student wearing a mask, this has been extremely difficult and definitely has taken a toll on my mental health. I'm here to ask you to vote against masks and vote mask choice. After seeing our lawmakers not wearing masks in an indoor football stadium with 70,000 people, I myself chose to follow the hypocrites and lead and start to attend school without wearing a mask for the last 4 weeks. I have been harassed and discriminated against by my teachers, staff, and administration. If this continues, how am I supposed to believe that teachers have my best interest? How are we supposed to trust teachers again? There are 9 million kids in California between the ages of 1 and 18. There has been 6,202 deaths of all causes between the year 2020 and 2022. 63 of those deaths involved COVID, meaning that it was not necessarily caused by COVID. There are other diseases out there killing us. That gives you a death rate of 0.0007%. That percentage does not justify keeping me and other students masked. The bottom line is students are hurting whether you see it or not. If you truly care about the students and you are here to represent us, then you will make the right decision and vote mask choice. Stop supporting tyranny.
Carolina Bluski. Carolina? Oh. Yes.
Hello, everybody. This is Emma Blaski.
Hi.
She's in first grade, and I am just here to readdress what I said last time I was here. This one is only one of the many kids that represent our future, okay? Just think, how does it in your head make sense, like science makes sense, that in 2 weeks, COVID won't exist anymore? That doesn't happen just like that. So if that's what you believe, let me tell you that you are so wrong. You are absolutely wrong. Let the kids be kids. They go to school to learn, and by them just not breathing the oxygen, it's not letting their little brains to get all the information that they're supposed to. That's what school's for them to learn, not to be deprived of being kids and enjoy school. Let them breathe.
Karen Castro. Karen Castro.
Karen Castro.
Jeff.
My name is Jeff. I'm the father of 2. All right. The fact that we even need to be in here for any of this is ridiculous. I've already thoroughly explained to this board on multiple occasions that you all have been duped. You have fallen for and taken part in a global genocidal scam as it relates to the shots, and you actively participated in felony child abuse as it relates to the forced masking of kids in our schools. It's not going to happen as fast as we parents want, but all will be held accountable. Remember my words, you two. The joke of the mask has become more and more obvious as time passes, has it not? Obedient clowns put them on to walk into restaurants, but then take them off to eat as the cooties magically go over people's heads while they sit at the table. Folks pack a football stadium mask-free and then strap their kids' faces up the next day to send them to school. School board members strap them on their face, but then take them down to drink water during the meetings. This theater is a joke. It is an absolute joke, sir. From the mild eczema on kids' faces to the psychological damage caused to bacterial pneumonia and eventual lung cancer. If you still don't realize your criminal contempt yet, I promise you, ma'am, you eventually will. Just stop it already and knock off this stupid criminal game. All you are doing with this vote today is attempting to mitigate your culpability in the child abuse you all have perpetuated thus far. By all means, mitigate it. Make the right call, please. But you're still going to be answering for your prior actions. The unnecessary damage you've caused these kids is reprehensible. May God have mercy on your souls.
Sonia Ramos.
My friends and colleagues, what are we doing? How is forcing a child to wear an unnecessary medical device in order to sit at their desk any different? Or are children being removed from classrooms, isolated into corners or duplicating rooms? They're being forced to sit outside in the rain and in the cold because they refuse to wear a mask. These are physically healthy children. How is punishing, demoralizing, isolating, and segregating our children and students any different from the crimes of our past? I see the pain in the children's faces. I hear the anger in their tiny voices. I watch them suffer behind the masks, afraid to stand up for who they are and what they believe, taught to respect their teachers and people in authority, taught to be complex thinkers and dreamers. They see us. They are watching us. They are living the lessons today that we once offered as history. You, my friends and colleagues, need to decide which side of today's history you wish to land on. Respect all students and show them, regardless of color, gender, sexual preference, religion, and core beliefs, that you will not discriminate against or segregate them from their peers and from their school communities. Ask yourself these questions. Is segregating and isolating children who look different, dress different, believe differently than you do, feel like the right thing to do? If the COVID virus is so dangerous and deadly as we have been told, why are there still record numbers of homeless and drug addicts on our streets? Common sense, not science, would indicate that people with weak immune systems, lack of ability to maintain proper hygiene, limited access to medical supplies like masks, inability to socially distance. In the end, my friends, so I beg you to stop enforcing these mandates on our children. Hold yourselves accountable for your actions. If you know that it's wrong, don't do it. Just say no. We need to start rebuilding our community and mending the hurt feelings today, not March 12th.
Laura Watts. Laura Watts.
Hi, my name is Laura Watts. I have a son at Lakeside Farms. He started off at Winter Gardens. This is my first time speaking. I've come to many meetings and I support everybody. And I just want to say that I care what's gotten us to this point, but today is the day that we can make a difference. We can change today. We don't have to keep talking about what happened in the past. Today is the day that you can vote to change things and make this better for our kids and give them the choice. Give everybody the choice. If people want to still send their kids in masks, that should be their choice. But those of us that don't, we should be able to send our kids without masks. I have a son who has some special needs and he has issues with social cues and picking up people's feelings and interactions. He struggles so much with the mask on the face. For a kid who already struggles, if you smile at him, Now he can't even see the smile. He doesn't understand that. He's lost 2 years of trying to understand those interactions with his peers. It's going to take him a long time to make up for that. So I just hope that you guys can start new today. Let's change things. Let's vote. Let's give the choice. Let's follow the other districts in our state that are already making it. And let's not wait till March 12th. I agree with everybody else. That's a completely arbitrary date. Let's announce it tonight that starting tomorrow, our kids can have the choice. Thank you.
We're going to the Zoom, so let me. Okay, I'm gonna pull in Sarah.
Hi, can you hear me? Do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna start talking. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Yes, Sarah, we can hear you.
Okay, all right, thank you so much, Andrew. I'm gonna speak directly to Rhonda. Rhonda, this is directly to you. Last meeting, you had mentioned that, you know, part of the reason for the masking was because a lot of teachers were scared to come to work and that you were afraid that, you know, you wouldn't have enough teachers to fill their positions. I'm just here to say there's a word that you guys passed around quite a few times during this pandemic, and that word was pivot. And I want to say to those teachers, it's time to pivot and find a new position, find a new job. Those aren't the teachers we want to teach our children. I can't even, I work with preschoolers and those kids are in our faces, hugging, snotty noses. I would never turn a child down. I cannot understand that. That to me just blows my mind that a teacher would be too afraid to come to a class when the kids are much older. I don't understand that. Also, I just want to talk about opening schools back up for parents for volunteering. We need to come and see. I know another lady talked about it. I want to see what my kids are doing in class. I have yet to meet my kids' teachers face to face. I haven't even met them. I want carnivals. We need dances. We need real field trips, this virtual field trips. I can understand the first 2 years, but the virtual field trips have to go. Our children need those interactions. They need real field trips. I also just want to say, I have seen a bunch of you guys on Facebook without masks having a good old time. And I just think that that's not okay. You guys need to vote mass choice. And if you're not, then you are part of the problem. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, I'm pulling in Serena Collier.
Sorry, hello, can you hear me? Okay,
Yes,
thank you. I apologize, I can't be there in person. Thank you guys for being there, those who are there to speak in person. Thank you to the board of Lakeside National School District for inviting us to address you tonight. I come to you as a parent of 4, the PTSA secretary of Riverview International Academy, and the college professor and a past elementary educator. I say that so that you understand that I have the best interest of the kids in mind when I speak to you about the mask policies. I'm addressing you to request that you please adopt Governor Newsom's new approach to the endemic by allowing our children to have mask choice. Additionally, I'm asking that you address the way you are handling students who are refusing to wear a mask at school. Up to now, students who refuse to wear a mask are being forced out of the classrooms and our schools. Over the past few weeks, several districts up and down California have decided they will no longer punish students for exercising their choice to be mask-free. And I ask that you mirror that response by giving our students the choice. I understand you are not able to completely remove the mask mandate from our schools immediately, but you are able to make the choice in how we discipline students who are not comfortable wearing a mask. While we only have a few more weeks before hopefully going completely mask-free, I think it is in the best interest of our children if you allow students for the next few weeks to make their choices of comfortability without the fear of consequences. COVID numbers in Lakeside and surrounding areas are down considerably, and chances are most of our students and staff have herd immunity after Omicron. So why keep our children masked for the next 2 weeks when all of us adults have the choice to be mask-free? I ask that you take these requests seriously and make the changes many of us, your community, are asking you to make. In addition, I ask that since we are nearing this endemic, that you also consider bringing parents back on campus as soon as possible. Thank you for your time.
I'm going to pull in Lorena Perkins.
Hi, hello, good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Hello?
Yes, Lorena.
Sorry, I apologize. I am on
No
my
worries.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, parents, students, and families that are attending in person. Thank you so much for representing us. I am a parent of multiple students in Lakeside Union School District as well. I work in the health profession, and I also work for another school district. I would like for you to hear our voices, the voices of the parents, of the students, and of this community, to go ahead with all our support to make that right choice and support the removal of the mask mandate. I think everyone has made their point very clear and has justified it with more than enough reasons. I apologize, I cannot be there in person, but please, I implore you, I can no longer stand on the sidelines and not be heard and not stand up for my kids. So everyone else that's doing the right thing and standing up, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
I'm going to pull in Karen Castro.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can hear you, Karen.
Okay. I've talked a few times during COVID and I'm probably in the minority. Actually, I'm in the minority. But I just wanted to, and I'm not saying, you know, mask choice, masks. I mean, my daughter will continue to wear a mask, but I just wanted to thank the board just during these really, really difficult times. That I thank you for making the choices that you have made thus far. I'm a teacher as well. I teach in a much larger district and we will continue to wear masks after March 12th. But I just wanted to commend you for I feel like doing the right thing. I'm sure all of the people there do not feel like it was the right thing, but I have a nephew who's dying of brain cancer. I have an 88-year-old father, and they're both still alive because we were really, really careful. And so I just wanted to say thank you. And anyone who is trying to villainize teachers in all of this, we've been working our butts off during all of this time. And so some of the comments that I've heard about teachers, it really saddens me because we do this because we want to, and because we want to make a difference in your kids' lives. And it's very sad that people are trying to make the teachers villains in all of this. But again, thank you for standing your ground and thinking about the safety of your teachers and the school personnel and the students. So that's all I have to say.
That's all.
All right, so we will move to Dr. Natalie Winspear providing an update to us on mid-year student data.
Can I, Andrew, I didn't sign up for a little thing. Can I just?
Would you like to say?
Can I talk? Yeah.
You're welcome to say a few words, yes.
Thank you. My daughter's 5 years old and she goes to the eucalyptus hills, whatever. And the first, I don't know, 2-3 months, she didn't recognize all of her students in her class and she barely recognized the teacher. And it made her kind of scared. And these masks psychologically, it's just, I can't believe that we're doing it. And I get this has become politics with everything else and just the whole thing, and put that aside and just take these masks off these kids, please. Please, tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Natalie Winspear. Sorry, folks, we're having technical difficulties.
Okay, can you hear me now? Thank you. Okay, so as requested, I'm not sure why my little picture's right there. That's odd. Sorry, hopefully it'll go away. Let me try that. It's still odd that it's there though. Okay. Okay, so as requested by the board, I am bringing to you mid-year data. It's a little bit past mid-year, so this data is from January of 2022. And what we are going to cover tonight, oh boy, are 4 things. We're going to talk about our year-to-year map data, which is our district assessment, as you know, our fall to winter map data, our student risk screening scale data, as well as our student support data. So mid-year map data, how are students doing compared to students nationwide and compared to last year? So this was our winter administration of MAP, and we administered in January after we returned from the winter break. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see what the national norms are for the winter administration of MAP by grade level. And on the little bars on the left, you can see the mean RIT scores, the average RIT scores of students in Lakeside at every grade level. You can see that in all cases, we were just shy of meeting the average national score for the winter administration. So in some cases, we were 6 points off, in some cases, we were 3 points off, but we were right there just below the average. Same for our math administration. We see the exact same thing. We are just right there under the average, the national average for math RIT scores in the winter. This is another way of looking at the same data. Here you can see winter of 2021 in the lighter blue and on the left side, and then winter of 2022 on the right side. So what you see here is that students, keep in mind, second graders this year were not second graders last year, so these are not the same groups of students. But you can see that second graders last year were closer to the national norm than our students this year. So the right-hand column shows what I showed you previously in the previous slides in a different way, that we are just shy of meeting those national norms. This might be where we see what we're calling learning loss. Again, not the same group of students, but you can see, for example, that second graders this year scored just slightly lower than second graders last year at this time of year. However, despite that fact, you can also see that all of our students made growth. So this is actual growth. The second graders on this bar would have been first graders last year, and you can see that their growth is meeting the national average, the same amount of growth that we would expect to see nationally. So at second and third grade, we're either meeting, exceeding the national average, and you can see at fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, we're just shy of meeting the national average. For math, we see something very similar. Again, the national norms are across the top, and you see again, this year, with the exception of third grade, where we actually outpaced last year's students by just a teeny tiny bit, we are still approaching the national norms, but slightly lower than last year. Again, math, we saw a lot of growth. You can see that in almost every single grade level, we are meeting or exceeding the average growth in math that we would see nationally. So we've identified that we think that there is some learning loss. So how are we going to mitigate that? So we have several things that we're doing or planning on doing. Last summer, we had a summer academy, and we also had an extended school year for our students with special needs. We are going to do that again this summer. We're going to have both a summer academy and an extended school year program. We've also maintained, and we're planning to increase our MTSS TOSAs so that we can continue to build those multi-tiered systems of support at our schools to ensure that students are getting timely and intensive intervention when they are not performing where we expect them to be. And then we also have intervention teachers this year. The informal data out there from intervention teachers is that they are seeing a lot of growth with the students that they are working with. And so I think that our learning loss could have been steeper than what we're seeing. I think we're mitigating some of it already by having intervention teachers in place, and we intend to keep those intervention teachers in place next year. So now we're going to look at MAP data from fall to winter, meaning we're going to look at the same students, how they did this fall versus how they're doing this winter. The short story here is that with all of our students, we're seeing growth. So you see that first graders grew from the fall to the winter, as did every single grade level except for second grade dropped a teeny tiny bit. These are our English learners. So I just want to point out here what we call the achievement gap. For our all student groups, you see that all of these bars are just under or approaching our winter national norms. So if you take that lighter pink line going across the top, we could say that that's about where most of our students are performing, just under there in our all student group. But when you look at our English learners, there's a gap there. And when you look at our students with disabilities, there's a gap there. And when you look at our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, there's also a gap. The good news is for each of these groups, we see growth. We see growth from the fall to the winter. Our students are improving, they're growing, but you also see that there's a gap there. That's the gap that we're trying to address with our intervention teachers, our multi-tiered systems of support. Same story for math. You see again, we're just under the national norms. You see that our students in every single grade made improvement from fall to winter. And you see that same improvement with our English learners, but you also see the gap. Students with disabilities, look at that growth in math from fall to winter for our students with disabilities. Amazing growth. Again, there's a gap though between where our all student group is performing and our students with disabilities. And finally, same for our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. So the good news here is that every student group has shown growth. The challenge is closing that achievement gap. So student risk screening scale, this is another way that we look at how our students are performing. Teachers rate students several times a year on risk factors so that we can match students with interventions. This is social, emotional, behavioral intervention. So you can see that all of our schools administered the SRSS in the fall and in the winter. And in the fall, we had, these are our students who scored high risk. So you can score low risk, medium risk, or high risk. So we're just looking at our students, percentage of students at every site that scored high risk. You can see that for most of our schools, the percentage of students who are at risk dropped significantly from the fall to the winter. And that's because when we identify a student as high risk, we match them with an intervention. In some cases, we match them with more than one intervention. At a couple of schools like LMS, for example, we saw it went from 2% to 5%. At LMS, they decided in the winter to have a different set of teachers rate the students. So they in the fall, they had the crew teachers rate their students, but then they felt that the students weren't seeing their crew teachers often enough because they only see them once a week. So they switched to teachers that the students are seeing regularly. So the winter probably captured a more realistic view of our students. But again, the point of this is that we're matching these students with intervention. So let's talk about student support. So why are our numbers of high risk students dropping? Well, it could be because of the very hard work of our counselors. You can see that our counselors do many things. At tier 1, they provide guidance lessons for every student at the school. At tier 2, they pull small groups of students to meet them and intervene in specific areas of need. Some students might need a grief group. Some students might need a how to make friends group, but we're identifying students that need something more than a classroom lesson. They need intervention, so we're grouping them and providing it. Check-in, check-out is a system where students are matched with a mentor, and they meet with their mentor every morning and every afternoon, and they're working on very specific skills that it's not just a general mentor like Boys and Girls Club. It's you have a goal, you're working on a goal, and I'm meeting with you in the morning. We're reviewing what you're going to do to meet your goal. We're checking in the afternoon. I'm giving you a reinforcer because if you've met your goal that day, or I'm reminding you the tools that you have in your toolkit to meet your goal. So that's another tier 2 intervention that we have happening at many of our sites. And then at tier 3, this is where counselors are meeting with students one-on-one or just doing check-ins, like a student's having a rough day, they're pulling the student out of class, they're doing a check-in with them. So again, very similar at the middle school, we've got classroom lessons, groups, and individual. And you can see there's a tremendous amount of touches that they're making for our students in terms of counseling support. Additionally, we have our LUSD behavior team. And currently our behavior team is providing direct support to 45 students in the district, and they are consulting on about 4 cases across the district. So about 50 kids have behavior that's intensive enough that they require intervention from our behavior team. And then finally, we also have the mental health services with Wellness Together, our partnership with Wellness Together. So for this is the 2nd year that we've had mental health services available at school on our campuses for students. So we know that out in the community, there are long waiting lists for mental health services, and those also require parents to take their children to the provider, whereas here students are getting that service at school. So we've got 87 students right now across the district that are getting this service on campus, and about 92% of the students that are being referred or being seen. Sometimes parents don't consent to the services. There's various reasons why a student who was referred wouldn't receive services, but 87 out of 95 are, and we continue to receive referrals on an as needed basis. There's no time frame for a referral to be made. If a student needs the service, we immediately put the referral in motion. And in some cases, we can start seeing the student as much as 2 days afterwards if the parent consents. You can see by site the number of referrals that are being made for mental health services. Not surprising, we're seeing more referrals for middle schoolers at LMS and TDS. And then you can also see the reasons for referral. So the highest number of students are being referred for emotional regulation, then for worry or anxious mood, sadness or low mood, major life transition, relationship problems, bereavement, potential substance abuse, coping with medical illness, and eating issues. So these are the reasons why our students are being seen. And so our multi-tiered systems of support work continues. We already see it making an impact for students in LUSD, but we're continuing to build those systems to ensure that we're meeting the needs of all students as they come up. So we have our alignment and calibration work, which is where we're just working on what's happening in every single classroom and ensuring that every student is getting the best possible first teaching. Then we have our Kid Watch systems that we're continuing to build and work on, where principals and teachers are engaging regularly with multiple sources of data to determine student needs. So that MAP data that I showed you, that SRSS data, we're looking at attendance data, we're looking at a variety of sources of data to match students to the interventions that they need. And then our principals are our awesome instructional leaders, and they are working with us. They're receiving professional development, they're receiving coaching. Our principals are always working towards becoming better and better instructional leaders for our students. So my question is, do you have any questions, or is there anything else that you would like to know or for me to present in a future meeting around student data?
Do any of the trustees have questions? Comments?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you to especially our counselors out there that are doing this work. My kids have benefited from the counseling support that we've had in place in elementary school and in middle school, the small group, the individual. I know we have some counselors out in our gallery too, that, you know, the work that you guys are doing is so important right now, and we're seeing the benefit, and there's more work to be done. But I just really wanted to say thank you to those that are doing that, and we appreciate it.
I also want to thank you for giving us the data and showing that our schools are not only supporting the kids academically, but socially, emotionally too. So that is really great, because we know all those things are so important in learning. Thanks.
I want to say thank you for bringing the data. Glad we're seeing this world in most of the really not seeing as much as we'd like, maybe, but we're seeing them.
Welcome.
Trustee LaChapa? No, okay, just want to make sure you didn't have any questions. Okay, I have a question. We are moving through the agenda, and that's all I'm going to say. We're almost there, I promise. I just have a couple questions on the data. So Natalie, two things. One, have we seen so we've seen decreasing since last year referrals, correct, for counseling?
Decreasing referrals for counseling, I don't think so.
No, okay. I saw. Thank you. Okay. Moving on. Couple items of business. One, adoption is requested of personal assignment order number 2022-10.
I'll make a motion to approve personal assignment order.
Thank you. Colleagues, the amended is in your folder. I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Two, adoption is requested of resolution number 202-14, reducing or discontinuing 3.6 instructional assistants and 0.5 school clerks, one for the 2022-23 school year.
I'll make the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to action item. Parents have requested that an action item to discuss mass enforcement protocols be placed on the board agenda pursuant to Education Code Section 35145.5 and Board Bylaw number 9322, subject to approval by the superintendent and board president. Any member of the community may place matters directly related to district business on the agenda of open board meetings. So what I would like to do at this moment is facilitate a discussion and then move to an action item. So if any of my colleagues have questions for staff, I would love to entertain those questions for clarification, and then we will move forward.
So, as far as enforcement and staying in line with JPA's requirements for how we do this. So where do you think we can make changes that will not put our insurance in a precarious position?
First, I want to be very clear that we cannot choose to enforce or not enforce the mask mandate. What we can choose to do, or I'm sorry, we can't choose to remove the mask mandate. We can choose how we reinforce it. I did write to the JPA and notified them that we were having this discussion tonight and asked them for their opinion. They sent their opinion to all the school districts, and I think because other school districts are finding themselves in the same position where they're really questioning deeply what's going on. They said that we're under the same liability and the same obligation that if, for example, a student contracts COVID-19 and we're not following the mandate, or a teacher contracts it and we're not following the mandate, we could be sued very heavily because of that by OSHA, which is a whole different entity, and that JPA may not, they did not say they would not, they said may not cover the lawsuit, which would cripple us financially. That being said, at the end, it was kind of a wishy-washy response. Yes, are we still liable, or is there still a real threat? Yes, there's still a real threat. But they were kind of wishy-washy in their last paragraph to the districts as to how they were going to enforce that.
The letter was not wishy-washy until the last paragraph.
No, the letter was very clear until the last paragraph where there was a lot of may and shall, but not will.
And we've made it this far.
We made it this far.
And I would not want to put ourselves, it would not be financially prudent for me to make a decision that could endanger our financial position by allowing insurance not to cover.
We'll take questions after. I want to make sure the board facilitates the discussion. Thank you.
So what I would have to say in response to that, we would be sued largely, but not have coverage for that potentially.
Okay. Thank you, folks. I really want to make sure the board members have time to speak and ask questions to the staff. So I want to highlight something. This because of the public meeting laws, this is a board meeting in public, but it's a board meeting between us. So we can't respond. Trust me, I would love to answer every single question. Hence why I remind everyone, please wait so that we can discuss it. I want to answer these questions. I'm barred by state code. So I want to facilitate the board's discussion. We'll be moving towards an action item. So I promise we're going to move through this.
I have a question. So the mask mandate is lifted by the state on the 11th of this month. Do schools need time in order to prepare if we vote to lift the mask mandate? I mean, for other mitigation, because there's a lot of kids with immunocompromised or other health issues, and those parents are going to be concerned and teachers are going to have concerns. So I want to make sure that they feel safe, because I think all kids need to feel safe in a nurturing learning environment. And so I want to make sure that the district is equipped to do that.
The district is equipped to do that as we have mitigation factors on site. We need a little bit of time to make sure that everybody has everything they need. Should a teacher have a compromised immune system, my recommendation to mitigate is to bring out the little desk, the desk partitions that we had before that were clear. They're not super popular, but I don't even know that they're really effective, but it does give another layer of protection to help that teacher feel more comfortable. We also have the KN95 masks that have been delivered, and they are on campus, so the teachers do have access to that. As do parents have access to those if they feel like their child needs a heavier mask than what they're sending their child with. I would like it to be known that I do hear from both sides of the community. I get letters from people who are asking us to enforce the mask mandate after the 12th, that they feel like this is an important thing and it needs to stay even after the state mandate is lifted. That being said, I mean, there are people on both sides of the argument. What I would like, I mean, do we need time? I would say that we would need, I need to send a letter to the staff to inform them of decisions. I need to send a letter to the community to inform them of decisions. And then we'll be good to go.
Okay, any further discussion before I make a proposal? None? Okay. So firstly, I don't think there's anybody in this room or on this Zoom call that doesn't know where I stand on this issue. So let me highlight the enforcement protocols. You'll all recall back in August, this discussion happened, and it was, hey, what we were told was we could determine how we enforce this edict from Sacramento. And that's exactly what this is. It's an edict from Sacramento. We have found that the governor has said, oh, March 12th. Who knows why March 12th, but it's March 12th. So in that spirit, I'd like us to revise our enforcement protocols that will last for the next 2 weeks. Because currently in our enforcement protocol, our kids are removed from the classroom and they're put outside, and we're just hearing about data that we know kids need to be in the classroom. We know that. We know that's what's best for them. So that's what the spirit of why I'm coming from this is. The other spirit is we're battling, whether or not people want to wear a mask, don't want to wear a mask. I just want us to focus on educating our kids again, and they can choose what they'd like to do. So in that spirit, we have as you all know, we have a 4-box kind of protocol that was passed in August. I'd like to revise that to include, I'm sorry, my microphone's still working. Yes, okay. I would like to revise that to be 1, remind an unmasked student of CDPH indoor mask requirement in a developmentally appropriate manner if they're not wearing masks. 2, offer it. 3, the district will not remove students from the indoor learning environment for declining to mask. 6, ongoing, teachers may implement mitigation strategies, including, but not limited to, physical distancing, use of plexiglass partitioning, opening doors and windows to increase ventilation, or convening class outdoors. Mitigation strategies should be implemented in a manner that are not punitive, that do not isolate students or groups of students, and that ensure all students continue to have access to instruction. Ongoing, administration will continue to cooperate with local and state health officials. So that is the revise that I would like to see happen through.
You went from 3 to 6. So
I'm sorry, not 6, 3, 4. I'm sorry, 4 and then 5. I'm
But after
sorry.
4 and 5.
Yep.
Do you have that in print?
I'm sorry,
Do you
Holly.
have that in print?
I have that in print. I cross things out, but I'm happy to make a motion to it.
It was the
It was-
revised protocol that I sent on Friday.
Yeah, it was the protocol that was sent.
We should print it. Maybe I'll pull it up on my.
Rhonda, have other districts revised their protocol in the interim until?
Yes, so Rancho Santa Fe did as did Alpine.
And Cajon Valley has also addressed their protocol in addition to other districts that are considering it moving forward.
I don't think Cajon Valley's taken it to the board. Though.
Well, what they did in their policy is they revised certain words. So from shall to may, which is an essential revision of enforcement from my analysis of what they went through.
The answer was yes.
Well, yes.
But it hasn't been worked.
I'm happy to, well, I'm happy to make a motion to that effect. And I will restate the motion, and then we can go from there.
Well, what was sent to us, pull it up on my phone. Didn't just skip over 3.
Yes,
and 4, so.
I am amending
You're
that
amending
version.
it to. You're
to
amending it
my-
To leave 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, which one?
I amended 3.
Okay.
I completely removed 4.
Okay.
I've completely removed 5. And I completely removed the latter portion of the end below 7. That would be in your version.
Mhm.
I don't see any purpose to those. It increases the workload of our staff.
Mhm.
Laura, would you like to say anything?
No, I support these changes. I think they're good. The revisions are doing exactly what we're hoping to do, which is to take the burden off of our staff of having to police the masking, and to our office staff of having to follow up. And so this will allow them to do the job we hired them to.
And also within the spirit of this is also to ensure that those who want to wear a mask or don't are provided that opportunity in the way in which we enforce this. So I think that's critically important for us to evaluate. So any further questions on my proposal before I make a motion to it?
Well, you can go ahead and make the motion, and I'll listen to what you want. I want to listen to your whole motion.
Okay, so my motion will be that 1, we revise our local enforcement protocols to 1, remind unmasked students of CDPH indoor mask requirement in a developmentally appropriate manner. 2, offer unmasked students a surgical mask. 3, the district shall not remove students from the indoor learning environment for declining to mask. 5, ongoing, teachers may implement mitigation strategies, including but not limited to physical distancing, use of plexiglass, partitioning, opening doors and windows to increase ventilation, or convening class outdoors, weather permitting. Mitigation strategies should be implemented in a manner that are not punitive, that do not isolate students or groups of students, and that ensure all students continue to have access to instruction. And then the last, ongoing administration will continue to cooperate with local and state health officials.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, discussion.
I suppose what concerns me the most is that we'll end up in a classroom with nobody wearing a mask, and that would not really.
Everyone here?
Yeah.
James, guys, hold on. We're debating the motion. We're debating the motion.
I mean, that's my concern.
Okay.
Is that we would end up with. We're not talking about 1 or 2, we're talking about an entire classroom, and it probably wouldn't be everyone, but and it concerns me that that's not enforcing the mask requirement that's put forth by the state for this remaining 8 school days.
Well, if I may address that just to a second. The state never told us how to do this. That was the whole problem in August, right? So they never said to us, this is your path. And this is why the one size fits all approach is not working. And so that, to me, is why we have to make it fit our local conditions. And that's what the spirit of my motion is. And so I want to make sure that we're looking at that. So I don't know if that addresses it completely, but that's the point. They never told us. So how can they come to us and then say, well, you're not doing what we said? You guys, you never told us. In fact, they told us the opposite. In fact, they said, you must enforce, but how you enforce it is up to you. Rhonda would like to clarify.
The state did not hand down the guidelines for the mask enforcement. The CDPH handed down those guidelines along with the Cal OSHA. And so we have been aligning our plans to both of those plans. Cal OSHA is our workman's comp.
Right. So what does that say for, what's the wording of the CDPH guidelines?
It's again, not definitive. It's more of a shall, not a must. But that's the guidelines that we were asked to follow.
I just want to repeat that the state can say all of that, but they did not tell us how to do this. If they want us to do something, give us a roadmap. You know, we hear all these phrases from Sacramento: framework, pathways, all of this, off ramps, on ramps, all these fun words and no substance whatsoever. I want us to have substance so that we can make sure we provide what I think it's time we provide. So anyway, that's that.
The CDC guidelines for wearing masks indoors said if you have a greater than 20 admissions per 100,000 in the past 7 days, you're considered high. And our county is still considered high rate of transmission. The CDPH, I know these agencies that were referred to earlier that have are the experts, mandated, even though masks are mandated only through March 11th, strongly recommend that we encourage kids to still wear masks because masks do help prevent the spread of COVID.
Folks, please, we're in.
And that the COVID tracker also says through the New York Times, I was reading that San Diego County is very high risk continuing. This is as of March 1st, yes, today, for unvaccinated, and only 39.5% of kids 5 to 11 are vaccinated. And then in our zip code 92040, only about 62% of people are vaccinated. So I think there's still a risk factor involved. And where's your mask? Yeah, where's your mask? You know, I've been trying to be very respectful.
Trustee Wisman, I need you to debate the motion with us,
Okay,
please.
But, you know, so my science background, whether it's my 40 years in public education and caring for kids and caring for their safety and wanting our schools to stay open, I think what we have after today, we have 8 more days until the mandate goes away. I think we need to consider our responsibility to still enforce the mandates. And I think we need to still follow the science, because science makes solutions. And and so changing the protocol, you know, we have to think of all kids and making sure that all kids are safe in the classroom. And so even the kids, you know, with physical conditions, other immune compromised. So, and we have to think of all kids.
Don, I'd like to just respond to a couple of those points. One is, you're correct that the CDC does say that in the county, we have a high level of transmission. That data, though, is not granular enough. Because what that data does is allows for areas that truly do have high areas of transmission dictate to areas like Lakeside what we should be doing. I don't see how that allows for local control. on our part.
But our level of transmission is, I looked at the map that showed, and there's 4 levels. We're in the 3rd from the highest level. The highest level, was 581 to 836 cases per 100,000. Currently, we are in the range of 568 to 580. We're above the county average. We're in the 581 to 836. The highest range goes above 836. The one below goes from 376 to 580. The one below that. So we're in an area where there's still a high case rate. It's not the highest, like in the South Bay and some other places, but our zip code is in a high rate. And so, I think the districts that we talked about that are extending the mask requirements, like in the South Bay, are doing so because of the high case rates. They'd like to see it lower. And that's what they say with the CDC and stuff, is to see those case rates become low. I'm not advocating that we extend it beyond the date, but I'm saying I think we should wait till that date and then make sure we have mitigating.
Well, my question is, so both Holly and Dawn, you spoke to the 8 school days that we have, and you have concerns over kids not wearing a mask. You have concerns over case rates. We're not saying kids don't have to wear a mask. Like, they can still wear a mask. We're saying the kids that choose not to wear a mask aren't removed from the classroom. I have an immunocompromised child. I have 2 special needs children. So I've been in this. I've had to look at things. I have to watch. They don't necessarily wear a mask all the time. That's their choice that they're making. And they sometimes do, they sometimes don't. But it needs to be each family's choice, because what's gonna be the difference in 8 days, in 8 school days? Why? I'm curious. I'm not condemning your answers. I really want to know
I completely
where
agree
you
with
see the difference in 8 days.
I completely agree with you on that point. 'Cause, I mean, the date is arbitrary. It has no bearing on anything. I have no idea. On that, we agree. Where my concerns lie are still, it's always, maybe once an insurance agent, always an insurance agent. This has nothing to do with putting money over kids, because if we go bankrupt from getting sued for something we don't have insurance for, we're gonna have a district anyway. And by the way, if that happens on our watch, who's gonna be responsible?
So I can respond to, I work with the IRS. So somebody who is highly regulated in the accounting and tax field. So I am one who always looks to the law of things, because my whole career revolves around following the law and interpreting the law. There is no precedent set yet for any of these things. So it's all speculative.
Sure.
You can't say we may or may not lose something if it's speculative.
It is speculative. You're actually proving my point to me, is that if it's speculative, we don't know what's gonna happen.
But there's no law that says that they can. We can actually fight that law, because the law says opposite of that. They can say whatever they want and tell us, oh, we're going to take it away. But there is no law precedent that they can actually do it.
Exactly.
I've read it very clearly.
I would like to, we have a motion on the floor. Robust discussion. I want to entertain any last thoughts before we move forward.
As a classroom teacher for 21 years and in education for 40, as a principal at a school, that was a STEAM magnet school and a PTA school of excellence, and which I feel that, you know, I want the kids to be in the least restrictive environment and they want them in the classroom to learn. But I want to make sure that all kids, all people in that classroom learning environment feel safe and nurtured socially, emotionally, and physically. If I know masks, people, you're not saying people can't wear masks. I have a mask with me because I do wear it when I still go into places. I have a wife that's immunocompromised, so I know it is my choice. And it's not, and nobody likes wearing masks. I know kids with with speech problems need to see mouths and how to enunciate and use tongues. So I understand that, but
Folks, please.
but I think we need to be very careful on how we enforce the mandate, and it's seen as enforcement, you know.
You're not a cop. All right. You're not a cop. Hold on, folks. Folks, please. I'm bringing that. We've now had discussion. The motion on the floor is what I read into the record earlier. We have a second. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Actually, we should probably do it by name. I'll start first. I vote aye. All right.
I vote aye.
John?
At this point, I vote no.
Holly?
No.
Connie? Okay, speak to the motion. Speak to the motion. Yep.
So, most everyone, if anyone follows me on Facebook, knows that I don't wear masks, and I have a kindergartner at Winter Gardens. I'm very nervous now, and I'm also in a lot of pain right now. Sorry, everyone. So I'm not myself today. I don't think 8 days makes a difference. So I vote yes.
Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Sorry,